All right, hi viewers. I still remain your host, Joshua. Today we're going to talk about one of the most important components of musical instrument, and we're going to talk about so many things that has to do with the instrument itself and those using the said instrument. So we're going to talk about drum kit. Now, drum kit comprises of actually two members of classification of musical instrument. I'm not going to dive into that today, but it's good for you to know the category of the drum kit family. Now, the drum is actually divided into two different sections. We have the membranophone category, and we also have the idiophone category. So the membranophone has to do with the drum kit that uses stretch membranes. For instance, snare drum, kick, and all the toms you have, they use stretch membranes. So it's those stretch members of the component that vibrate to produce sound. Like I say, it's beyond the scope of this video. So the second category of drum family has to do with the idiophones. It means everything on it vibrates. Example include hi-hat, cymbals, and maybe if you have bell, or bell. So everything belongs to this category. So it's good for you to know the category of drum set, so that you will also be good when selecting the microphones to pick their sound. Now, we're going to share with you some few things that people get wrong in this, in music especially. Previously, I stated that it is high time that all the music team become an engineer. Because once you know some things about your musical instrument, the sound shaping that will be generated by you will be on point. Because your ears are not just listening to the musical part of what you are playing, but the sound aspect also. So there are some few things we want to share with you. The first category is mic placement and positioning. Something you have to know that will enhance the quality of your drums. I'm not just saying that because I am reading books, but I'm speaking from my own experience. Now, it is a norm using a dynamic microphones to mic all your toms, the snare drum inclusive, and also kick drum. Again, I might not want to dive into all those things, but few of the characteristics of dynamic microphones that it can withstand heavy shock of acoustic energy. Then it cannot distort easily. I know fully that our dynamic mic, have wide dynamic range. That is why the mics are really good to pick high pressures and transient from our kick, snare drum, and the toms. Okay, then the second choice of microphones are the use of condenser mics. So it's actually wrong for a live application to use condenser mic on kick, snare drum, and toms, except for some recording purposes. Okay, so condenser mics actually, because of their characteristics, they have flat response. They can capture every detail of sound generated by any instrument. So because of their high transient nature and their sensitivity to sound, they are actually used to pick cymbals and hi-hat, knowing fully that the two idiophonic instruments have high characteristics in the mid-high frequencies. So it must be captured well and translated well. So that is why we have all these mic plays. So anytime you as an instrumentalist, the drummer sees other choice of microphones, please call the attention of the engineer to see that they change this mic, because these things can make or mar your production, your performance also. All right. It's a normal practice. It's a constant practice from our own point of view to use snare top and a snare bottom. You know that snare bottom has some stretch strings that generate a sound that is different from the snare top. While the snare top has this initial attack, the snare bottom has some decay end that translate the sound well. So when you capture the two sides of a snare drum and pick it into the mixer, you have good sound of the snare drum. Also, that's also our constant and normal practice. Previously, I used to insert between 2 to 3 EQ to generate good sound from the snare drum. But I'm actually in this phase of my life where I really don't use any processors. I rather capture things naturally and just push in volume. That's why anytime you click into my YouTube channel and play anything there, the sound seems to be natural. Less of electronic sound and more of acoustic sound, because acoustic actually represents nature. Acoustic represents emotions. Electronical, it's almost like 100% perfect because things have been sampled, all the pitch correction, all the time alignment, adjustment, pressure, and velocity, everything we are quantized to make sure that it gives you 100%. And you know in real sense that we are not perfect. And that is why we have acoustic. Acoustic actually leaves some human error, which also is represented in our life and recording content, which also is good. All right, I don't want to go deep into this. So, like I said, always use snare top and bottom to capture the sound. Don't forget to reverse the polarity of the snare bottom, I guess, so that you have good attack. Okay, now you must use 2 overhead. So many people don't really know the chemistry in using overhead microphones. Now, overhead mic don't just capture our hi-hat and cymbals, but overhead mic capture drum room. Remember, drum room is different from the acoustic room of any given hall. Drum room is what adds life and definition to your kit, drum kit. So please don't joke with you. Never use one mic, overhead mic, condenser mic, to capture your overhead, but use 2. So because the 2 represent our stereo imaging, it gives a kind of surround feel, it gives a kind of binaural space in our auditory perception. Again, that is a topic for another day. The choice of mic you use will also make and will also destroy the quality of your sound. Anytime I appear before you, I'm actually preaching sound.